Okay, one of the first things I want to talk about today is you guys know that there has been a whole lot of kickback to Kellogg's with what they're doing with food dyes and ingredients here in the United States versus the exact same product they're selling in Europe for much cheaper, or I'm sorry, with a much better product. So they have fewer ingredients over there. They have more natural ingredients. Over here, it's just a lot of synthetic stuff, preservatives, BHT, artificial flavors, colors, sweeteners, you name it. It's all in our stuff. It's everything. It's not just in Kellogg's, but, you know, the problem with America is we have somehow gotten our population so accustomed to these artificial colors, flavors, and sweeteners that people think that it's okay. You know, and I have to say it's conditioning. You know, we're not supposed to be eating these things. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Like the American government over here gets charged, 10 times the amount of money for pharmaceuticals in other countries because we have privatized healthcare. And with privatized healthcare, our insurance companies are paying Big Pharma. And so if insurance companies are paying Big Pharma, they're able to demand more money from these insurance companies, then insurance companies demand more money from us in our premiums. That is why health insurance is constantly becoming more and more expensive. And, here's the thing, the idea of socialized healthcare has never been something that I'm for, but at the same time, socialized healthcare is a great idea because it'll take the power away from Big Pharma. So, and I say that because we're only one of two countries where it is allowed to market commercials to the public on cable TV, or network TV. So think about that. So here in the United States, we have privatized healthcare. We got Big Pharma making commercials, constantly filming, trying to convince us, hey, ask your doctor if this drug is right for you. Like, what kind of world do we live in when we're asking our doctor for drugs? Like, that's not the way it's supposed to go. The idea is we're supposed to focus on our health, our wellness, our lives, things we're doing. And then, our doctor who we trust that has gone through, a decade of school, we trust that we're going to make the right decision to give us the proper prescription we need. I would like to see doctors say, well, before we get started, I'd like to see what you're eating. Like, what are you eating on a regular basis? Let me look at your diet. It's the first thing you do. Like, if you take your dog to the vet, the first thing they do is they ask you, well, what are you feeding him? We're the same way. But for some reason, doctors don't ask that. And the biggest reason is because they're not schooled in nutrition. Doctors are not schooled in nutrition. Doctors are incredibly intelligent people. You can teach them anything, but yet they're not taught nutrition, and it's by design. Because if they learn nutrition, guess what? People will be healthier. And then guess what? You're not going to sell as many drugs, and then Big Pharma won't make as much money. It's this huge vicious cycle. So when you think about these things, people are hurting. America is hurting. It really breaks my heart. Being the author of the Supernatural Lifestyle, it has been my goal to add value to people and increase their quality of life. I want to see people happier, healthier, fitter, more energy, better sleep, better quality of life. That's why I wrote my book. I wrote the book. I say it all the time. Like, I already know this shit. I didn't write it for me. I wrote it for everybody else. If we could all focus on contributing and adding whatever that thing is that we're very good to somebody else, this world would be a much better place. And so when I talk about these things, I bring up these topics, I'm talking to everyone, I'm thinking about this stuff 24/7. Regardless of what people may think about me because of how I look, how muscular I am, doing movies and things like that. Like, you guys got to remember, like, I was a sick kid, all right, and I didn't like it. I stuck in a hospital bed for, months and months and months on end. I spent years dealing with that bullshit. And, it just kind of conditioned me to always think about my health. What am I eating? How do I feel? How's my energy? How did I sleep? What's going on? And I think about these things all the time, and I'm just bringing this up because it breaks my heart when people reach out to me and they say, I'm having these gut issues. Is there anything you can do to help? I'm having this skin issue. Is there anything you can do to help? Or, they'll say, I got my blood work done and it's the first time I did it. And, my doctor's saying that I shouldn't eat cholesterol because my LDL is high and my HDL is low. It's not in the right range. And, what do you think? And it breaks my heart because when people are reaching out to me who I've, dedicated my entire life to health and fitness, wellness, I don't have all the answers. I come up with quite a bit, but I'm always striving to get more. And all it makes me think is like, how sad is that? We live in the greatest country in the world, supposedly. And instead of trusting our educated professionals, that have doctorates and PhDs and degrees and all this stuff and the ability to write a script for anything you can think of, you got people reaching out to me, little old me, that wrote a book on nutrition that constantly talks about how important it is to eat the fundamental foods that we were designed to eat in the proper combinations at the proper time. It's sad because if you will just do this thing, it will eliminate so many problems. Now, the problem that we're facing is a lot of these foods are GMO. A lot of these foods are, riddled with pesticides, herbicides. A lot of these foods are pasteurized. You got to understand, I can keep going. There's preservatives. When you talk about all these things, just take regular whole foods. The reason I'm bringing it up, all these things take regular whole foods. People are doing their best. They read the labels. It says organic, and then okay, I'm doing good. I got it. But little by little, we're starting to find out that a lot of these big agriculture companies are in bed with pharmaceutical companies or vice versa. And so little by little, these companies are lobbying and paying the FDA and things like that to allow chemicals to be considered organic, to allow chemicals to be sprayed on our food. And in the United States, we got a really scary issue. When it comes to chemicals, we have an innocent until proven guilty situation with chemicals. In other countries, they have a guilty till proven innocent. Like in Europe, it takes 10 years of proof that a new chemical, pesticide, herbicide, preservative is going to be healthy for the people before they unleash it onto the population. But here in the United States, we just go for it. Yep. Hey, what drug is that? Oh, it's this new drug. It's great. It's going to allow your milk to sit on the shelf at room temperature for 13 years. And no, we don't think it's going to have any side effects or nothing. Yeah. Okay, cool. Why don't you just give us $1 billion here, and then we'll let you go ahead and just put it out there and we'll just test it on the people. If we have any problems, we can revisit this in 6 or 7 years. That's literally how we do things around here. And everybody wonders why we're so fat and sick. I don't wonder. I'm making a point now to make sure I get out of the country for a couple months, every year, just so I can remember what it feels like to eat good food that's not tainted and riddled with all kind of bullshit, pesticides, herbicides, preservatives, if you really look at what we're doing. When I wrote my book, The Supernatural Lifestyle, it's incredibly intuitive because all I talk about is eating whole foods in their natural state, how to group them together, and the best time to eat them. I give you food choices, how to group them together, and when to eat them. That is what you need to know about food, okay? There's all these diets out there saying oh, you got to do carnivore. Meat is the only way to do it. We got to eat meats all the time because that's the way the lions did it, And it's well, we're not lions. We're not. We got 2, technically 4 canine teeth in our mouth that could tear some meat, but the rest were designed to grind plants or whatever else. And then you got people over here going, vegan's the way to go. That's the way you want to do it. All plant-based, raw vegan, this and that. You stay away from the animals, the poor animals, they didn't do anything to you and it's better for the environment. No, that's not true either. There's a ton of benefits to eating meats, and, with the whole vegetable thing, they talk about how, it's better for the animals, but when you talk about all the crops and everything and all the little animals that you have to kill, to make sure that they can have these crops and whatnot, it really comes down to what animals you're good with killing and which ones you're not. So, that's a weird argument, but at the end of the day, I'm not excluding any whole foods from your body and your daily diet. I feel like there is a best time for everybody to eat these foods. So maybe not all the foods for everybody, but collectively, all these foods, they weren't designed to hurt us. God created all this stuff so we could eat it, create the animals so we could eat them, not trying to eat my pets, love my pets, I love a lot of animals, I think they're great, but some animals were designed to eat, and it is what it is. So, without going too far off on a tangent here, what I'm talking about is, it's really sad that America is hurting so much with trying to get information of just how to be well. And, I said this before, and I'm going to say it again because I don't think people are paying attention. For years, I was taught the Mediterranean diet was like the best way to eat for longevity and being healthy and all these things. And for those of you that aren't familiar, they're talking about, Italy and Greece, the way they eat over there, the Mediterranean. So I went over there and I spent a lot of time over there. And what I realized quickly was that those people eat a whole lot of breads, pastas, cheese, wine, gelatos. They may eat smaller portions, but to me, none of that is like, wow, that's how you get ripped. That's how you get in great shape. No, but their food isn't tainted. And so that is the issue. We have tainted food that's causing an inflammatory response. It's lacking nutrients because it's GMO. And then we also have pesticides and chemicals and herbicides and all these things that are also depleting the body's nutrients and its filtering systems just to process the foods. And so these foods become a strain on the body without replenishing all the nutrients that you need that you would normally be getting from natural whole food sources. So the whole Mediterranean diet being like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, the people eat better over there? No. The people live better over there because their food is better. So the conversation that we have to have, I really have to salute, my friend Jason Karp with what he's doing with Kellogg's right now. He has taken upon himself, and some other people have teamed up with the Food Babe, and they, are basically forcing Kellogg's to change their horrible ingredient list for Americans and make it at least the same as what they're doing for Europeans. I mean, let's think about that for a second. Hey guys, we're America. We're number one, right? Number one, America. We're the best. Then why do we allow companies to feed us shit? Like, think about that. Why do we allow companies to feed us shit? They're making billions of dollars off of you eating shit. And why is that okay? Because then you're going to be sick. You're going to have problems. And then guess what? Big Pharma's like, this is great for us. We can sell them drugs. And we have all these different drugs that we constantly come up with that will combat side effects from all these issues that they have from food. And so your health has become big business. So the idea of wellness is the last thing any major corporation wants to happen in this country. That is why insurance doesn't pay for any wellness or preventative measures, because at the end of the day, it's not part of the cycle that they need to feed the machine. So, for all of you out there, that eat like shit and you eat, Cheez-Its and Doritos and I don't know, crackers, cookies, M&Ms, energy drinks and all this, I truly believe that if all of those things were made with better ingredients, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You're not going to see me eating that shit all the time. But I'm not holding your hand to the fire because, I've been to Italy. I've spent time in Greece, all right? And I watch what these people eat, and they mix their bread with oil and vinegar, and they mix it around, they eat it, and they put big blocks of cheese on everything. And, these people aren't fat. So, it's not the calories and it's not the kinds of foods, because you can't eat bread like that here. And, we got seed oils and everything over here. And, seed oils were industrial oils that were basically like, man, we all have these cotton seeds. We grind them up. We got all this oil. What are we going to do with it? Well, let's see if we can run our engines on it. I don't know if we run the engine up, but we can lube the engines out. Let's do that. And then somebody's like, hey, you know what? Let's just eat it. Let's see if we can eat it, see what happens. People are like, well, how you want to eat it? I don't know. It's just like, cook our fries in it. How about that? Boom. Next thing you know, hey, we have a way cheaper form of oil for everybody out there. And so, the big food corporations latch onto it. And before you know it, we have a problem. And now we always have issues. It's just one thing after another. So, I'm going to sit here and continue to beat this drum and tell people about how important it is to make sure that we are getting to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is fixing our food chain, our food supply. And the only way that we're going to do that is when we start educating ourselves and people start saying, I don't want to eat all these brilliant food colors because, they're starting to find out that, like all these different food colorings cause hyperactivity, sometimes a difficulty to focus, ADD-like issues with children. And it's like, what? How about we just go with organic food colorings? Maybe they aren't quite as bright, but I'm pretty sure we'll get used to it. And at the end of the day, I don't have children, but for all of you that do, I want what's best for your children. I know you do too. It's just hard when you don't have the resources. A lot of you people work 9 to 5. You work really hard. You're grinding, you're putting in work. You're doing what you can. You got a family to take care of. You and the wife is working. The kids are in daycare or they're in school. And then, on your weekends, you're trying to get as much stuff done around the house, have a little family time. The government's taking, half your check to taxes. Inflation's driving up. Your dollar's weaker all the time. You're not getting the raises that you want at work, and so, we have a population right now of people that are kind of in this situation where the changes are happening so quickly that people don't know what to do. You have this explosion, of OnlyFans girls out there just, crushing it because things are easier that way. You take a pretty girl, she can shake her ass on the internet a little bit. Next thing you know, she's making bajillions of dollars. And for what? For money. And, it's on one hand, it's like you can't blame somebody because, times are getting tougher, money's getting tighter, and it doesn't appear that things are getting better. But it's unfortunate because, we've sexualized, everything so much and we focused on the dollar so much that people's health is failing. I mean, if you look at mental health, right now in the world, I had a good friend of mine. I made a post a while back about mental health, and I was really harsh about some of the things I said. And, I found out that I hurt his feelings with the post. And so I immediately remember a horrible incident that happened to him and somebody very close to him. And I totally felt like an asshole in that moment because what he went through, nobody should have to go through. And what he saw, nobody should ever have to see. And I apologized to him. And I apologize right now for that because I'm sorry. And it's easy to forget. It's easy to think when we get in our own world, this is what we're doing. This is what it takes to be successful. And I don't see why everybody else can do it, and we can have these moments of just work harder, just push through, you'll be fine. Don't think about it. We're in strange times right now because, we have such a strong influence from social media and it's jerking us into a direction that I don't think is great. And when, I'm saying all that to say this. So, you have, a society of women that's over-sexualized. These younger girls have figured out that they can make so much money by trading their dignity for cash early on in life when they really are the most beautiful and the most sought after. And that exchange and that trade comes at a bigger price than how much money they're getting paid. You can make more money and get your money back, but you can't get your dignity back. And that is something that we're not preaching and we're not talking about and we're not pushing to society. You know, we're kind of promoting all the wrong things. And this has to do with mental health, because then you have young men that are working really hard, these younger guys, and they're not able to do that. You know, some of these guys get caught up with these girls doing it and they think they're going to have this relationship and everything is going to be great. And it's not, because at the end of the day, nobody wants the other person sharing these things. There might be a small, tiny little population that is good with it, but over time, everyone eventually won't be good with it. You'll grow out of it. You'll move on. You'll think to yourself, wish I wouldn't have done those things, you know? And, you know, this is really strange because you have these beautiful girls that are putting themselves out there in a way so they can be a boss. I make money. You know, you treat me bad, I'm going to treat you worse. You know, the music girls listen to is just, it's horrible and it's getting worse all the time. And then what happens is you have these younger guys that are trying to date these girls, and these younger girls might mess with these younger guys, but then they're like, you know what, I can get these older guys and I can have the lifestyle I want. So on one hand, they're making their money, they're doing their thing, they're trying to separate everything, like things are different, you know, on what they're doing on their OnlyFans or their website. They're acting like things are different. And at the end of the day, this is your life and this is who you are. These are the things that you're doing. And they try to separate those things. And then, you know, I guess they hope to find a guy that's just not going to care about those things. And it's unfortunate because then, you know, what happens is you basically have this person that comes into a relationship with another person and then basically made the decision for both of them that this is going to be okay. And, you know, if you love me enough, it's going to be okay. When at the end of the day, like anyone that has something very precious and near and dear to them, they want to keep that as their own and protect it from everyone else, especially when it comes to a relationship. People don't want to share somebody. Women don't want to share men. Men don't want to share women deep down. But for some reason, the way we're doing things with our social media is we are pushing all of the wrong things, you know? Like, I think, you know, even myself have fell victim to the fact that, like, you know, when I was younger at one time, you know, I remember thinking, you know, I want to be big and jacked and that's how I'm going to get the girls. And there's, you know, somebody else going, I'm going to get really rich and that's how I'm going to get the girls. So, I mean, maybe some of that is normal and it's fine, you know, but I think that from there, you can take something that's like, okay, basically I'm saying I'm going to be a value and this is going to be how I make my way and I find my mate. And then the idea is to have a family and then move on together. But somewhere along the lines, it got lost and it's like more and more and more and more and more, you know, it's almost like, I don't know. I think that I associated being successful with, you know, having a bunch of money, a bunch of girls, boats, and all these things. And, you know, maybe MTV videos, you know, got in my head a little too much on everybody else, you know. And so here we are now, we're in this spot where I feel like everybody talks about relationships all the time. That's like the biggest topic. And we all want to point blame on everybody else. But at the end of the day, the only way we're going to fix any of this shit is if people just really start promoting the right thing, you know. And people really start celebrating friends of ours, the few and far between that have been married for 20 plus years, you know? And that is the only way that we're going to get there because, you know, I'm saying a lot in this right now, but really what we're coming down to is like, we got a lot of issues in America and the American way I feel like is polluting a lot of the world. That's why China won't have no part of what we're doing. You can't have the same American apps in China. You know, on the other side of things, you know, China released their TikTok app over here. And the American government was so mad about TikTok because, you know, China was controlling, they're infiltrating our country. And, you know, all they're doing is, you know, trying to drive our country into the direction they want, and they're trying to hurt us and all these things. And it's like, don't act like you give a shit. You know, you guys have been taxing China 2% on all of their imports for decades, and they've been flooding this country with everything you can think of. I mean, Walmart should be called China Mart. Really what happened is once I've really figured out how you can, import, export, and make money, Walmart figured it out. You can go on Alibaba right now and you can source different products. You can source headphones, forks, cups, rugs, electronics, anything you think of, board games, figurines, all that stuff. You can find it, right? And it'll say there's minimums of, 1 to 10. Or maybe 100 to 1,000. And you look at it and it's like, okay, so let's say I like these cups. Well, if I buy, 10,000 of them, I get them for 68 cents a piece. If I buy 100,000 of them, I get them for 40 cents a piece. If I buy 5 million of them, I get them for 12 cents a piece. So, Walmart was like, man, let me just buy mass amounts of inventory, stick it in a warehouse, epoxy the floor, put a little sale sign on all the stacks of inventory. And when they bring something new, we're rolling back the prices. And so people walk through this warehouse that is inventory for China and we call it Walmart. And we're like, oh, we love how cheap everything is here. And all it is a bunch of cheap China shit. And I'm not saying everything from China is shit, because a lot of those people work really hard. And there is, personally, I like doing business with the Chinese a lot for different things because they'll work really hard and make sure you're happy. But I'm just telling you, that is what Walmart is. So next time you walk into Walmart, don't sit there and think that oh, wow, it's crazy. This is so nuts. No, Walmart is a huge warehouse full of inventory that has been dressed up to look like a store, and they put a price tag on everything, and they're just selling it right off the warehouse floor, and you walk it up to the front and boop, scan it to take it home. That is Walmart, And so to sit here and act like, oh, the government was so upset with, China, with their TikTok app. You know what they were upset about? What they were upset about is China had figured out how to monetize the most valuable asset or commodity we have right now. Do you know what it is? Attention. We're in the information age. We're in the information age of the world, and your attention is the most valuable commodity, because if I can get you to focus on this long enough, I can feed you whatever I want. I can throw marketing in there, but not only that, I can also measure with metrics what type of stuff you like to look at, how long you're looking at it, what you're clicking on, what you're commenting, what you're sharing, where's it going, and now I can sell you more marketing. So the only reason that the American government was upset about TikTok was because China had all this power over us to do that and make money. Because do you guys remember when that happened? So, it was like they were going to ban TikTok, and all this. And people were saying they should do it. And other people were saying we shouldn't do it. And people are like, yeah, but it's for democracy. And people are like, yeah, but you're taking our freedom of speech. And then it's like, yeah, but it's run by China. So they went back and forth, Do you know what resolved the situation? Eventually, we demanded that TikTok release the algorithm to us so that we could make Instagram Reels. We make Instagram Reels. Next thing you know, we don't give a shit about what TikTok's doing, because now we know we have the recipe. Now we have their recipe. So now, Meta over here is able to control what we're looking at, what we're seeing, and how they're monetizing our attention. And so that's where we're at. And you know what? Money has been elevated to a spot like it's the most important thing. And the young generation, I'm hard on these younger guys, because I'll say all the time, why are you so worried about going viral? The viral kids. That's like the newest generation. Gen Z ought to just be called the viral kids, because that's all they ever think about. I'm going to go viral. I'm going to go viral. I'm going to go viral. And it's I almost can't blame them though, because it's so much harder now to buy a house for these kids than it was when I was growing up. It's so much harder to have a single job and be able to have rent a house. Now you got to have a side hustle. You got to have so much going on. It's almost like, you know what? Let me just try to work the internet, because instead of trying to work a job, if I get everybody's attention on the internet and I can figure out how to make a couple bucks, I'm going to do it. So, you know, on one hand, you got, you know, these young guys that are trying to go viral all the time, you know, and on the other hand, you got these girls that are doing OnlyFans trying to go viral all the time. Everybody's trying to make money on the internet, and you can't blame them, because it's not like things are as easy as they were. I mean, things are constantly getting more difficult. And what do? The best thing to do, we gotta really take a step back and figure out what's the way forward. And I know people don't want to hear this, but you know, in the Bible, it's a book full of wisdom. It talks about this. It talks about how things will go eventually. It was written a really long time ago, and it talks about the way things are. And it's like, it's easy to focus on the things that give you a dopamine hit and instant pleasure and are fun and all of that. We all want to have fun, and we all want to feel some pleasure. But when it's your entire life and it starts to cloud your morality of maybe what you're meant for, what you should be doing, you start trading your dignity, you start compromising your goals and who you are, what you're willing to do or not do, just so you can have money because you think that the money is going to bring you a better life. Money's nice. It is. You know, I'd rather be, you know, rich with problems than poor with problems. But you're always going to have problems. It doesn't matter. And it just kind of breaks my heart when I see people reaching out to me when they could be talking to a doctor for help, but they don't really trust them. The reason people reach out to me is because you guys know I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to be as transparent as I can about what I'm doing, how I got here, what's next. And then the information I get, I just bring it out as best I can. Obviously, I eat like I talk about in the supernatural lifestyle. Like, so I'm always going to stand on that. You can't blame me for that. This is who I am. I wrote this after I figured it out. And so when I figured it out, it was like I wanted to run out in the street and tell somebody. And so instead of doing that, I just wrote a book. And so now I'm able to help people. I'd love to see my book in the school system. I'd really like to see if there's a way that I could help kids understand how important it is to eat the right fundamental foods, the right time, the right groupings, and see what we can really accomplish. Because if we don't change our focus to doing something great and focus on something great and being more and better, if we don't do that and we're constantly just trying to entertain ourselves and get some excitement or some dopamine hit or whatnot, it's leading us down a path of an unstable society. And that means mental health is an issue. So, you know, for all the people out there that are struggling with mental health issues, all the men out there that are just kind of taking it on the chin or being quiet about it, I salute you. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what even to tell you other than I know it can be hard, and I know what you're going through. It can seem like no way out. But lean on somebody, one of your friends, someone in the family, someone close to you. And for everybody else, you know, if somebody tries to talk to you about some things, just be there for them, you know, because you guys never know how much like a smile or a compliment can change somebody's day. I mean, I'm a pretty positive dude, and I have a lot of goals, and the only way I can reach those is by staying positive and know that I can do these things. But I can't tell you, you know, how many times I'd be in my own head about whatever's going on. And, you know, had a guy tell me today, he said, "Hey, Aaron, just want to let you know, I came across your Instagram a couple days ago. And, I've known you in here in the gym now for a while. And I just want to say congratulations. I'm happy for you. It's nice to see good things happen to good people. And it felt really good. So don't forget that no matter who somebody is, like a kind word, a smile, a genuine gesture of some type of love or support will always be seen, felt, and received in a good way. So, I guess I just want to leave things on that note because here we are, 2024. We're supposed to have flying cars, all this technology. Life was supposed to be great, supposed to be easy. We're going to not have wars. We're going to, beat cancer and all these things. And that's my final thought that I want to bring up. I hear people, I was on the plane the other day and they were like, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month or week or whatever it is. And I'm sitting here going, they act like they don't know what the cure for cancer is. And it's sad because I'm sorry for every person that ever had cancer, every woman that ever lost their breast or their life, whatever, to breast cancer. I'm sorry for every child that lost their life to cancer. I'm sorry for every person that lost their life for cancer, whether you're old, young, in the middle, whatever. I'm sorry because they want us to believe that they don't know what the cure for cancer is. They genuinely want us to believe that. Like, you know what the cure for cancer is. We all know what it is. It's removing all the toxicity from our foods and our environment. Nobody got cancer 100 years ago. Cancer's a new thing. Cancer's not a virus. You don't catch cancer. You develop it. You develop it from eating foods that are filled with chemicals that hurt your body, and by eating GMO foods that don't replenish your nutrients, and by being in environments that have endocrine disruptors, pesticides. It's in the air, it's in the water, seed oils, processed foods. That the cure for cancer is pure food, pure water, pure air. That's it. That's the cure for cancer. Because cancer only showed up after the Industrial Revolution. And it's really getting bad now. I know that people talk about glyphosate. It's Roundup. There's like a level of glyphosate in everybody's body at this point. Monsanto is this huge juggernaut in the food industry. And they're able to pay and pad whatever politician they need to make sure they can keep making money. They don't care who they get sick. I seen a story a while back. There was an older guy. He was a crop duster. Are you familiar with that? You know what a crop duster is? Crop duster is a plane that flies over the crops spraying pesticides. Okay? That's what they do. Spray pesticides. Well, this guy had been doing it for years. And when he died, can you guess what he died from? He died from cancer. But he didn't die from one cancer. He had 7 different cancers. So you mean to tell me we don't know what the cure for cancer is? Okay. I got to leave it there because if I keep going, I become the enemy. So I'm just going to plant these seeds with you. sorry with the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You know, I'm sorry for everybody that's lost their life to it. And for all the people that are struggling with their mental state, you know, mental health awareness, my heart goes out to you as well. Things are very different and very strange now. Like I said earlier, the things that we are valuing and hailing to be the most important things are not bringing us a beautiful life. They're not. So when people reach out to me and they ask me, can you help me with this disease? Can you help me with this problem? Can you help me with these things? It breaks my heart because sometimes I have the answer, but not always. You know, I don't know if you guys know this, but, you know, the people that funded all of the institutions for medicine started a really long time ago. Rockefellers, they got a ton of money, and they said to the universities, well, we figured out how we can make pharmaceuticals from our petroleum, so this is what you're going to teach people. And if you don't teach them this, we're not going to give you this grant money anymore. And school is a business. Make no mistake, school is a business. If you think school isn't a business, how come some cost so much, some don't? Because they're all trying to figure out how to get you to pay for whatever education they want to give you. But you got to remember, like, nowadays, you can educate yourself. You know, I think Elon Musk said it best. He was like, all the information you want to do things is free. You can teach yourself for free on the internet. And it can be difficult. You have to do some research, but there's so much information out there. You can find the information what you can teach yourself. That's what I did when I wrote my book, The Supernatural Lifestyle. And since I've done that, I've been able to help thousands of people. And I can't wait until the day that I know I've helped millions, because that gives me some of the greatest sense of fulfillment out of anything I've done. Being a bodybuilder was great. Being the world's tallest bodybuilder was awesome. Being the juggernaut in Marvel was awesome. Writing my book, The Supernatural Lifestyle, and knowing that I'm helping people, mothers, fathers, families, kids, it feels great. And this all came because initially I was trying to help myself. Because just like the people reaching out to me that are trying to get help, I was asking people and they didn't have the answer. So I went and found it myself. And after I got it, I share it with all of you. So I think that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Eat right, train hard, stay focused. Don't be a sissy.